What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What kind of ignorant shit is that?
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You idiot, you fool!
Hey, dummy!
This is the Ignorance is Blessed podcast.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Hey idiots, welcome back to Ignorance is Blessed, the podcast that attempts to overcome ignorance, mostly by asking ignorant questions, with me, Jessica Michelle Singleton. I'm a comedian and I'm ignorant, and that's why we're here, to hear my stupid questions, your stupid questions, all of the questions, and get them answered. And to have fun, laugh, check out from whatever the fuck is going on out there. Dear God. If you're new to the podcast, please subscribe, review it, and rate it. Rate and review it. I tried to make it one word. It didn't work. On iTunes. It helps me feel good, but more importantly, it helps more people find the podcast, which helps them get answers to their questions. Thank you so much to new subscribers and new reviewers. Shout out to my new patron on Patreon, Steve Johnson, and to my best idiots forever on Patreon, Gene and Kathy. If you're not familiar with my Patreon, I want to let you know it exists. Not only that, but from now on, every piece of content over an hour is only an hour for free. And then you got to head over to Patreon. And for just $1 a month, you can hear the rest of the interview. This one happens to go an hour and 40 minutes. So there's 40 minutes of hot Robin Tran content that you can get your hands on by subscribing. And the reason I'm doing that is because I make a lot of content for free and I love giving it to you guys. But now that the world is shifting and I have no shows in the foreseeable future, spoiler alert to everyone who wanted to come to my Anchorage, Alaska show, the plug has been pulled. I got to figure out ways to make income. And so I love having you guys. I would love to have $1 from you every month to give you the rest of the episodes. If you've been listening for a while, you know that some of my episodes don't go an hour. So I'm not going to shorten episodes under that. This is just extra content. And I won't have an intro or outro on those. So all of those episodes, you can fucking get in there and listen to them without me droning on at the beginning and telling you about my feelings. Because it's like, yeah, we get it. You're nuts, lady. Get to the interview. That's why we're here. So if you're interested in that, patreon.com/ignoranceisblessed. I may eventually go back through all of the old episodes and cut those down to an hour and put them in there. But for now, it's just moving forward. And also, I'm reading bedtime story versions of Harry Potter to all of the patrons because I'm crazy. And also, we are discussing it on my other podcast. So this is just a little extra something for you, or you can share it with your kids if you got kids. So look at that. More stuff. And we're doing weekly hangouts. Fucking stuff in the mail, as long as the mail stays afloat, and more. So head on over there for that to support me, or buy your NeuroGum to support me. GetNeuro.com. That's GetNeuro.com. Use the code JMS and you can get my favorite thing, which is NeuroGum. They sponsored the podcast because they heard how much I loved it. So it's a very organic partnership, but it's gum with caffeine and a little bit of B vitamins and L-theanine, so it gives you energy, but also focus, helps you get things done. I should be chewing on it now because I would have gotten this fucking thing a little less chaotic sounding. Anyway, look, enough about me. Check out the Patreon if you're interested in that. I think you're going to be by the time this episode comes to a close because you're going to realize you want more. And, get some NeuroGum if you're trying to get that creative project done. And you're like, I always said I'd do stuff if I had time, and now I have time, and I'm not. I'm telling you, NeuroGum is saving my ass. Or at least keeping me from beating myself up mentally. Enough about me. Robin Tran. Robin Tran is hilarious. Transgendered female comedian in Los Angeles. I've known her for years as sort of like a friendly acquaintance in the scene. I knew her before she transitioned, and I've known her since she came out, and I feel like we've somehow gotten closer from communicating on the internet, as I think is the case for a lot of people in quarantine. Anyways, she's very funny, very real. We talk about a lot of stuff. It's not just transgendered questions. We go into mental health, and you just fucking get to see this whole awesome, cool person. You see so many sides to an individual, which is one of my favorite things about doing these podcasts. And fucking, she's fucking hilarious. So enjoy this interview and then go follow Robin Tran. Hey, idiots. Welcome to Ignorance is Blessed. I am here with not here. I'm on Skype as usual lately with my hilarious friend, Robin Tran. How are you, Robin?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We're getting through it. We were both just talking about how we're, I'm not going to say we're thriving, but...
No, I will say I am thriving.
You're like, I'm living my best life.
The world is on fire, and I've never been better mentally, and that's very true. And I try not to tell people too much because I think it's really rude, to say because I have to like act like, okay, what is bad? So I'll like think about some bad things to like let people know that I'm still with them. I'm not a sociopath. But I will say that a year ago, when I was really mentally fucked up, is I went to therapy, and my therapist asked me like, what do you want out of life? And I said, well, I wish that there was a way that everyone had to stay home because I'm lonely and I can just chat with my friends all day and no one had to work. So I feel like this is my fault. I've manifested it, and I like to apologize to the world.
You fucking witch.
I know, right? Trans people are magic. Did you know that?
I mean, I had my suspicions.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, how did they do it? Who is this? How have they made all these like changes? How are you? I just stay getting angry at trans women who are hotter than I'll ever be. I'll be honest. Yeah. Like, fuck you.
Well, I'm angry. I'm angry at them too. Like, I'm so lazy. I'm not wearing any makeup right now. I don't think I've worn makeup for like a long time. Like, I always make fun of trans women. Is like, you're at Vaughn's. Why are you dressed like you're like going to a debutante ball? Like, you're dressed to the fucking nines. Like, can you like be a little lazy like I am? I haven't even changed my email yet, Jessica. Like, it's still like... Is it
still Robert Tran?
Yeah, it's still Robert Tran 04. Like, I just don't, like... I thought that, like, being who you are meant, like, I'm still, like, a lazy person. Like, why do I have to work hard all of a sudden that I'm trans? I gotta now, can I just, like, not... Look, I'll just go back to being a dude. Is that okay? Like...
You're like, well, no, it's so funny you say that because... I sometimes feel the same. Well, when I'm thinking about gender or when it comes up in conversation, like this idea of a woman being always dressed up, always put together is like, what is it, 1950? And so thinking of like trans women who do that, it's like, what are you? You have to.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, obviously, maybe that's just who that person always was, but I do have these moments of like, are you like doing a character? How are you so energized?
Yeah, I have this joke in I won't do the whole joke, but it's basically about going through all the phases of womanhood, like at a faster rate, So like going through like the baby phase of being a woman, when I came out, and then like a year later I do the thirst trap phase. I did that for a year, and then it was like, now, like, I'm on the third year. I'm like, oh, makeup is oppressive. Like, oh, God, it's patriarchy. Like, and the joke I do is I say, that's how I knew I was a real woman. You don't know you're a real woman until you don't want to be a fucking woman anymore. So that's where I am. That's where I am in my transition. By the way, I am straight. A lot of trans people I do not think appreciate my view on transness. So I'm glad that you're going to have a disclaimer. I'm probably like the most problematic trans person like that I know. So
I mean, somebody has to do it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's like you were saying, like, why would I change all these aspects of who I was
right.
the whole time? It's like, yeah, no, I'm a woman. I'm not like suddenly like organized fucking super mom. I transitioned. I didn't get addicted to Adderall.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. It's so much stuff to do.
Well, does that? I mean, I don't know, because they say that obviously a big part of like being trans, from what I've heard, I obviously I can't, I can only like sympathize, or whatever, trying to put myself in those shoes. Is like the gender dysphoria does, because I know a lot of people just with
the way things are going with Zooming and like having a FaceTime and like see themselves, and people don't have their normal fucking beauty routines, which to me is hilarious because it's like, oh, there's people that are freaking out that have been like doing their eyebrows regularly and like nails every 2 weeks. It's like, oh, bitch, I've looked like I was in a quarantine for the last 20 years. Like, what? But,
yeah.
like, does that fuck with your head?
Okay. So first of all, just before I get to that, I actually am getting kind of annoyed with the, like, hey, how are people's hair is gonna look, like after this is over, and like, oh my god, are people gonna gain weight, or are people gonna like do, like, they're all worried about this stuff. It's like, this is the perfect opportunity for us to start over, and like, this could have been great for us all to stop caring about all that shit.
Yes, because, like as a unit.
Okay. Like, and then it's like, okay, now we can't start over now because people are starting to care about how they look again. I mean, the gender dysphoria comes out every now and then, but not really anymore. I've kind of gotten over a lot of things that upset me in the past and stuff. Like the other day, somebody did mention something that like it unexpectedly made me cry, which doesn't really happen anymore. Where I posted some video.
Well, then you're not really a woman if you're
yeah. I don't cry anymore because I decided that it's for pussies, and but she made some reference about how I needed to shave. It was just like a video I put up without makeup, and I just started like, I was like, oh my god, like I guess it still comes up every now and then, but I would say it's like the dysmorphia, all that stuff, even like being misgendered. I don't care about like 95% of it anymore. Like it used to take up my whole life. Like I used to be like, being hyper aware of every time someone said like, someone goes like, hey dude, and then I'll be like, oh, I bet you if I was a cis woman, you wouldn't say dude. But like, just like living that way, it was like the most exhausting. It fucking sucked. Like it was the worst. And I'm not saying people are not valid in thinking that. I think people are right when they say like there are microaggressions, but like over time I've realized that being right is like it's like a small part of life. Like I'd rather have fun and be happy than be right. So I just like made that decision a while ago. By the way, do you go by Jessica or JMS now?
Listen, in my mind, I was like at the beginning of this year, speaking of transitions.
Yeah.
So like,
what are your preferred names?
It's either is fine. I was going to try to like, just really push like JMS, but I was like, I love
JMS, by the way. I like that a lot. I've been calling you JMS.
And some people have been calling me that forever. So I was like, why don't I just try to make it's like shorter, so then I don't get the people going like, oh, that's such a long name.
Yeah, right.
All three, but then I don't know. I don't know. I was gonna try to just be really insistent upon it for a while to like switch, but I'm like, I just don't have the energy. So I'm like, I'll respond to either. I used to be very particular about people using both of my first names, Jessica Michelle. I'd be like, my name's Jessica Michelle. And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like a label, in my opinion. I'm just like, say whatever. I
think, I don't know. I don't know if I can speak for you or anyone else, but I remember when I used to be really insistent about what I wanted people to call me, like really like angry about it and stuff. It was like, I was like not thinking about my own depression, because I got bipolar, and so like it was like a way to have some kind of control over my life. Like if it was like if they called me this thing, then it would validate that I am that thing, and also it would validate that they have respect for me. Like I demand that you call this, and so like I think like systemically I was right, but I think like on an interpersonal like relationships, talking to people like one-on-one, it was like just like unsustainable to live that way. Yeah.
I agree. It's just like at a certain point, I think, and maybe fucking, I've been doing, not in the quarantine, but I don't know. I think like maybe doing mushrooms has helped with some of that. Like that I'm like, I don't know, me being so specific about my name does feel like maybe it's just an ego thing. Like I just don't, if you're not being rude, you're not calling me a cunt. Like fucking.
Which I'd also call you behind your back.
Well, I mean, I'd prefer it to be said to my face so I can come, for God's sake.
Can I tell you my shrooms thing, by the way?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so like I was on some really bad medication for like 2 years. Like really bad medications. Like it numbed me. I couldn't laugh anymore. I couldn't cry even.
Oh,
Like I was. Yeah, so like it was like the 2 worst years of my whole life. And then I was on mushrooms once, and it was like the hardest half hour of my life. Like everything hurt. Like it was like this kind of like, if there was a button I can push, I would have just pushed it so I could disappear. Like, it was the most painful thing I'd ever. And then so during that whole thing, I'm like, why am I hurting so much? And I had to admit to myself, dude, you're on the wrong medication, you know? And so like when I was not on the medication, I was like I was really suicidal. So the medication kind of like made that a lot less, but it also took away everything else that made me happy. So just like admitting that to myself on shrooms, I was like, I think I got to get off these medications. Like I gotta start over. I gotta start feeling things again. Like I hate not feeling anything. I'm watching comedy and I'm not laughing, even though my brain is going, this is funny, and I can't laugh at it. Like I'm doing podcasts. I did historical roasts for Netflix, and I didn't even for like 6 weeks. I barely talked because I thought everything I say has to be perfect, because the medication just blocked my ability to just like trust myself to be creative and say the right things. So on that shrooms trip, I decided, and this is like, by the way, do not do this if you're listening. I got off 3 out of 4 of my medications. I quit cold turkey.
No, and they're like SSRIs and stuff.
Yeah, it's so like from the 3 weeks in September, like it was torture. Like it was fucking torture. And then I got on Kate's health insurance, and I got on the right medication for the first time. I tried 14 different ones before I got on the right one, and it changed my life. Like in October, it was like when my life started for the first time. Like I thought about killing myself. 25 years of suicidal ideations. And then all of a sudden it stopped. It just stopped. It vanished, you know? And so I was like, oh my God, I want to do things again. I'm laughing again, which is why a lot of the trans stuff I'm saying right now, I've changed a lot of my perspectives on it now that I have like a healthier mindset, you know? Like for me, it's like I don't give a fuck what you call me. I'm a woman. If you call me a dude, like I don't have to be your friend. I'm not going to, why would I try to stop you from what you want to do?
Why am I going to exert my energy?
I just won't fucking talk to you anymore if you don't accept me as a woman, because I don't give a fuck. I am one whether you call me one or not. So it's like my confidence came back, my energy came back, and like if you and I have talked a few times in real life, but I feel like you haven't like actually met me yet. That's how different I am from my energy. I just like.
Well, no, it's so funny because. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I was just gonna say, because like I've always thought you were really funny, and yeah, like you said, we've met a few times. We haven't hung out a bunch, and then like I follow you on Twitter, and it was like noticeable on your Twitter.
Yeah, right.
It was like that came to life, and I was like, oh fuck, where has this fucking funny bitch been hiding? Like, what?
It was crazy. It was, what's really fucked up is that no one knew anything was really wrong, because like I was still good at my job, which is like going on stage for like 15 minutes or so. Like it was like a reflex. It was an instinct, like when you just kind of, I wasn't writing new material and I wasn't having fun while I was on there, but I knew how to emulate someone who was good at stand up. And so I started
to get the job done.
Yeah, so I was still doing things like, going on, I did, Comedy Central, Netflix, and like I did Clusterfest in front of like 9,000 people, but I don't feel like it happened to me. Like I still feel like I didn't do those things. I was on a show recently and like everyone had credits, and I was thinking like, man, I wish I get credits one day. And it took me an hour to be like, wait, you have credits. Like it happened to me. So like, I wish I can go back and just redo all that stuff, Anyway,
I mean, there will definitely be more opportunities.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
I'm kind of rambling right now. Sorry about that. But
no, it's okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
First of all, congrats on finding the right meds, because I know that's not easy.
Yeah.
And then I definitely understand like the need for those meds that like totally numb you, like they numb all the feelings as like a temporary. But I think sometimes doctors fuck up keeping people on those, where they like, where it's like maybe you need to just shut it off for a minute because the dangerous thoughts are like too overwhelming. But yeah, when people stay on some of those completely numbing SSRIs, it's a bummer that they're not feeling like anything.
Right. So so there was a battle I did with Joey Rell, which she got like 2 standing ovations. It was the only standing ovation
Not
I
from
ever
him.
done. Yeah.
Sorry. Hi, Joe.
No, I think they said the same thing to Joe. But they were standing up, and I swear to God, Jessica, I thought to myself, like, I should really feel happy right now. Like, if you watch, people love the battle, and I think it's like objectively like the best one I've done, like as a clip I can share with people. But I don't have good memories of experiencing it because I was thinking, like, why is this like? Am I crazy that I'm not happier? Like, you can see how calm I am throughout the whole battle. I'm not really like engaging. I'm not really joking back. I'm just doing my jokes calmly.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's when I always know like things are really rough and stuff is going good and I'm still like, yeah. I don't care. Like, in your mushroom trip.
Yeah.
When you this is just a silly shroomy thing, but when you had the thought, dude, you're on the wrong medication, were you then also like, hey, don't call me a dude? Dude.
I just
you just get in a fight with yourself.
What's funny is I've done a lot of I've been a lot of people in my life. I've been like, I kind of like try on different personalities, like for a while I used to wear a fedora. Like I was one of those people.
That is a person. That's so funny that is such a.
Yeah. And so, I was an SJW for a while. I was an edgelord for a long time, I was an edgelord for a really long fucking time. Like Opie and Anthony, Patrice O'Neill, Louis C.K., all those people. I followed them obsessively. And then I became like an SJW. So I learned not to laugh at anything for a while, and that was too extreme also. So I think I'm at more of like a what do you call it? like a woke SJW kind of like a woke edgelord, like a woke edgelord. So like I have a trans friend named Kimberly Bertrand, and we tell just the most problematic jokes about back and forth. Like I'll comment on her wall. I'm like, hey, that was good, bro, and she'll be like, yeah, thanks, dude. Like we just think it's funny, to say something wrong.
Can you guys start a podcast called Edge JWs?
She made fun of Adam Carolla's podcast, and then so I wrote, "Hey, can you and I do a podcast called The Man Show?" like just making jokes that I'm not supposed to be making, but like I'm kidding, I'm not saying I'm not really a woman. But it's like, I just like to make fun of everything, let's not take. Like, I'm not saying it in some kind of like a right wing, like, fuck SJWs, fuck oversensitivity, but it's like, hey, don't take away my coping mechanism, man. Like,
yes.
Right. Like, if you, like, I'm just telling anyone who's listening right now, like, I couldn't laugh for 2 years. Like, once you lose the ability to laugh and you get it back, you will do anything to hold on to it. Which means I've gotten a lot more lenient on jokes and stuff. If you're joking around, I think you can say pretty much anything, especially with your friends. It was funny. I was like in the car one day with like Tom Goss and another and Keith, and we were telling fucked up jokes with each other. And Tom goes, "Hey, Robin, I'm glad you can make jokes like this again because for a while there, it kind of seemed like a narc." And so I thought, like, and I realized, like, man, I was a bad friend, like.
Fuck. Well, it's hard. And then when it's like, I can't imagine with such a transition, you're going through so much. And then, like, on top of that, like, chemically, you're changing if you're taking, like, hormone replacement or. Right. But then it's also just, like, such the culture of some of the internet where I think everyone has this thing where they want to find their kind of tribe or their group. We all have that like instinct to find where we fit in. It's easy to be like, well, these people accept me, and then sort of you slowly or rapidly become more of like similar to whatever group you're kind of affiliating with.
So that's I'm glad you brought that up because like when I first came out, it was February 3rd, 2015. I remember like, I first came out, I don't know what to do. You kind of, you're out and you don't know what that means. So you feel lost. So you kind of you gravitate towards like someone else who's trans. Like, can you help me out here? And I think I needed that, like kind of like a guide map to like kind of navigate this. But then I realized this at the time, but I couldn't really process it where I felt like I wasn't like box that society put me in for like most of my life. And then once I got out of that box, like within 2 days, it was like, hey, here's another box to be in. This is how you be trans. So like, this is how you act. This is how you dress. This is how you think, which that part was like, wait, what? This is how you think. I don't like that part.
Like,
and
I
then
have to
like
change my viewpoints.
gotta change points. And then like I remember thinking like I'd watch like YouTube videos of like, it's mostly white trans women, by the way, like white trans women,
Of course.
like, you know, like they're still white, you know, so like I'd watch,
the worst.
I watch like YouTube videos of these white trans women saying like, here's what's transphobic and here's what's not. And I was thinking like, I don't even agree with this video. Why wasn't I consulted? And now I can't say anything because, you know, when I was like really hardcore SJW, I knew all the terms that they would use if you, like you said something wrong, right? You're a TERF, you're this and that, you're transphobic, you're this and that. And I remember just I had so much resentment, you know, and I couldn't put it into words because like, I didn't want to be a right winger. I'm not a fucking right winger. I don't want to be like a bench, you know, but I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off a lot.
Oh no, keep going.
So like,
this is great.
I thought about it really recently, actually, like, how do I put this into words? And it was like, you know, there's like, for the Constitution, there's like people who are like loose constructionism and there's strict constructionism, which is like some people like read the Constitution and they look at it like literally, like the text only, right? And but there's also the loose Constitution, which is like you look at it like, okay, the spirit of it, like what do you mean by that, right? And I think that's kind of how I am with SJW society. Like I am very progressive and everything, but I do put it, I leave a lot of wiggle room for like interpretation and standings and stuff. And I think there's way too much like just like a strict like you got to say this, you got to say that, and then if you don't do that, then you're this and that. And I think it's damaging, not from a right wing perspective, but from like a left wing one. You know, like I don't know.
Oh yeah, well, because it makes total sense because it's like just in general, you hear the word liberal and then to go, I'm liberal. Here are all the rules for being liberal is like a funny sentence. Like, we accept you as long as you're exactly like this and don't even stray a little or we will burn you alive.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, great. No, it's progressive. That's nice.
Yeah. By the way, I don't understand the connection with some of these things. Like if you really break it down, like let's say hypothetically, I'm a socialist, right? That's a very left wing economic thing. Okay. What does that have to do with a fucked up joke? Like why, if I believe in one thing, right? Like what does that have to do with a crass joke, right? So I've gotten very defensive about like jokes and stuff, but like I'm better at compartmentalizing like if someone makes a bad joke, like and it's just like a fucked up joke, there's no punchline, the premise is bad, I'll attack it from like, okay, this isn't funny because this is not really a joke, you know?
Yeah, this is like formulaically not a joke. It's just
this is like it's like hate myth. This is like a fucking hate speech. But like if it's attempting to be a joke and it's bad, then I'll be like, okay, look, it was a bad joke. They got to work on it. You know, that's kind of where I am right now. Is like my mind is just constantly thinking about jokes now.
Yeah. Well, I just think so many people want to live in this lie that everything's black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's like the whole, you know, taking you from one box and putting you in another. And I'm someone who's like, why don't we just get rid of the boxes?
Yeah.
but like, but yeah, so many people, they, and I don't know if it's like they're lying to themselves or they just haven't like had this all occur to them, but it's like, yeah, they see everything as you're either with us or against us.
Yeah.
On either side of the thing, you know,
right.
And to me, it almost stunts the ability to kind of bring people who have different viewpoints to at least like to a place where they can see where the other one's coming from.
Right. Well, you know, the way I try to look at it is like, I don't think they listen. Like, I think you have to kind of use other people's languages to like kind of, you know, get through to them and stuff. Right?
Absolutely. You can't be like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. I use like SJW language kind of, which I go like, you know, it's like classist and elitist to assume that people know what you're talking about. Right. Because like, if you grew up really poor, like I did, I grew up really poor, and we just told fucked up jokes to each other all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends to this day, they don't have access to like the internet. They can't keep up with Twitter. So like, if you like tell them that they're stupid, first of all, that's ableist, right? Like, listen, why is that okay? Like, you're an idiot because you don't have access to this information that I have.
Yeah.
It's not fucking liberal. That's really like oppressive in its own way. We just don't.
Absolutely.
see it that way because no one has like this is my poor best friend. This is my this is my stupid best friend. Like there's like this is my trans best friend. This is my gay best friend, which is also problematic. But at least like there is a best friend, right? But with like intelligence levels and stuff like that, there's still a lot of elitism and ableism and classism involved.
Yes, absolutely. When so much of like intelligence nowadays can also like tie into your socioeconomics because so many people have access to information that makes them at least more informed. I don't want to say more intelligent necessarily, but like more informed versus like people who don't have that access, like you're saying. Yeah. And then also, even if someone is legitimately like, I guess you want to say like an idiot, like they cannot grasp your concept. No, it's like you're holding something that they can't help against them. So
I have a joke about that, about like the different levels of being misgendered, and I won't do the whole joke, but the punchline at the end is like I have some friends who are like they're like dumb and they mean well. Someone was yelling something transphobic at me, and my friend goes, "Hey, I got this, Robin. Hey, you leave that fucking dude alone, all right? You leave my fucking buddy alone. This guy, this Y chromosome penis having buddy." So I'm like, and actually, it comes from like a real life experience, actually, like, but not like that specific moment. But when I went crazy for a couple of years, like, I went to a wellness center for 6 months, and that's like almost like I was like basically in a mental hospital for a while.
Oh wow.
And a lot of people there had learning disabilities. I wish there was a better word for it, but a lot of them had like, they were stupid, and I don't mean that judgmental way. They had learning disabilities, and they would always try to get the pronouns right, but they would mess up a lot. And I remember this one day, there's a woman who was like, she was in a wheelchair, she couldn't walk, and she had extreme learning disabilities. And she called me during one of the group therapy sessions. She calls me he, she. Like, the he, she over there. And I laughed. And I thought it was so cute. She was trying. And she rose up to me after the meeting with tears in her eyes. And she goes, "I'm so sorry I called you that. I'm trying my best." And I thought like to myself, wait, why is she apologizing to me? I'm actually in a better place in life than she is. And she's apologizing to me. Like, I don't know how much of these rules apply when you go out and you like outside of your bubble. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so really wrong. And by the way, like if you refuse to call me my gender, then, fuck you. I'm not talking about those people, but
like doing it to be a dick.
Right. So like I kind of have a different perspective on a lot of that stuff. After 6 months of just like, they're the sweetest people in the world. And I'm a lot more lenient on that stuff now. And also like because of that, like it helps me with trolls because like.
Yeah, because you don't know who's behind that fucking computer.
But because of that, I built a thicker skin to being misgendered. And so like now when a troll tries to get me like online, like they think I'll just call this person a dude for hours. It doesn't bother me at all anymore. And that drives the trolls fucking insane. Like they're trying to bother me and they just don't anymore, you're like, fucking hack.
Insult something else about me.
Right.
Cut me. I already know you're going to say that.
Right. Also, there are many things to make fun of. So
yeah, you're like, I'm not just my gender.
Oh, and to go back on what you said before about like, you feel like people like they want you to say this and that or whatever. I kind of feel like, and maybe this is a gross generalization, but I think a lot of people hide behind causes, like noble causes, to like not fix like their mental health issues, like,
or to give themselves an identity.
Right. So like for instance, like a lot of my friends have said like, if you're not depressed about the world, you're not paying attention, or if you're not depressed, you're not paying attention. It's like, well, I'm sad about the world, but being depressed is like a fucking serious clinical issue. So like I think it's like they're hiding behind a noble cause. Like I'm nobly depressed, right? And I think I used to do. And I don't do that anymore. And one of the reasons why I'm so glib about being trans now, it's not because it's not hard, but it's like I'm kind of bitter that my bipolar is not talked about as much as being trans, because like I used to be a shitty person one day. I was mad about everything. So I wrote like, I'm going to list the things in my life that are hardest right now. Okay. Number 1, bipolar. Number 2, poor. Number 3, trans. Sorry, trans is 3rd, and number 4 is Asian. So I just like ranked them what's the hardest, just to like get. By the way, after the coronavirus, Asian's probably going to go up to like number 2, but it's gonna be hard to leave my house for.
There's going to be people attacking you, but being like, "No, I'm not transphobic." You don't understand. It's because she's Asian. I respected her gender as I attacked her.
But yeah, I mean, that's just my whole thing about like, I don't mind talking about being trans, but if it seems like I'm being very lighthearted about it, it's because like the bipolar, like you like the torture that was in, like it was ever gone through, like 10 times harder than anything else. And I think when you go through that, then everything else becomes a little easier.
Oh, of course. Well, and it's also just like, I imagine that, like, you know, coming out as trans, like coming out as anything to a large group, but it's like, and obviously I'm part of the problem with being like, do my podcast and talk about this one thing. But
no, I don't. No, it's serious. I don't mind it at all. No,
but it's like people want to then make your whole identity about that, and it's upsetting because it's like that's not, and I think that's where. Well, this is so interesting because I'm now having my own like personal revelation about like where I get like hung up in that conversation is that it's like, yeah, fine, that's great, I'm happy for you. I don't want everyone to only talk about how I'm a woman. Is this what you fucking is this what we're doing? And so now you saying that is like, oh God, people probably fucking constantly bring it up, or they're like, as a trans woman.
Right. Well, it's not just people. I mean, that's certainly part of it. I did a podcast once, and I tried to talk about other things too, like you and I were doing. But he would not let go of the trans thing for a whole hour, and I was really sad afterwards. Like, dude, I have so many other things, you know, and like I kind of have this like chip on my shoulder because like I feel like I'm a really good comic, you know, like really good. I don't know if I'm great yet, you know, like I think I might be, but I'm not, you know, but I think
you are an incredible comic. But are you going to say that people go like, this is a really good trans comic? Right.
Yes. I maybe it's my ego, but I don't like, I could have been that comic. I could have been, but I was like, I'm a comic first and I'm trans second. I made that second. So like, when people always put a disc, like a fucking like, you know, Robin.
It feels like a qualifier.
Yeah, like a qualifier, right? Like I'm the best trans comic. Like fuck you, I was the best comic on that lineup. You know?
Yeah, I almost called you dude. But that's okay. I do that to everyone.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt the same about being a woman because that's a thing I still get, but I would get early on of like, oh, you're the funniest woman on this lineup. Or like one time someone, I swear to God, I don't even remember what comedian this was because I was like, oh, I think I just wrote it off as like, oh my fucking God. Someone was like, you're so funny that I don't even see you as a woman. And I'm like, what does that mean? I guess that's good. You've stopped seeing the gender first. I don't know.
Right.
But
it's funny when someone's like, you're the funniest trans comic I know. And I'm like, oh, so I'm funnier than 8 people?
Yeah, it's like, how many trans comics do you know personally?
One time I did a show and it was an all trans show and every joke was very trans. And I don't like it when everything is like a sermon, you know? So I went on stage and I said, I'm an Asian trans woman, you know, 3 groups that are known for their sense of humor. And they started booing me.
Everyone started booing you.
You just like to be a villain, you know? I think it's really fun.
I mean, it's also just funny to come in and be like, well, actually, here's something very evil that like none of you are saying.
And I do it, like I actually do it to make a point, you know, which is like, I don't like this idea that we have to be these perfect people to be accepted as our gender. Like, why can't I be a shitty? If I'm a shitty person, am I not a woman now? Like that's a dumb thing to think. So I play a villain. I play a best friend villain character, you know, like on purpose, so that people can like be comfortable being shitty around me too, you know, like be comfortable making jokes around me or like, I just want other trans people to hopefully see me and go like, oh fuck, I can be anything I want. Like I fucking do roast battle and don't know the trans person did that before me, you know, like just like make my own ask because like it's like an opportunity when you come out as trans. Like one of the cool things is like now you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like you can explore like what you want to wear, who you want to fuck, what you want to say. You know, like and like. I think we do a real disservice to people, like when we tell people, like, you can't do this, you can't say that, you can't do that. And also, when we share only stories of, like, sadness and, like, you know, tragedy. Like one time I wrote, like, on Facebook, I saw, like, someone posted a picture of a trans woman, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure she's probably dead, because that's the only reason why you guys will post a picture. So I said, you guys know that we can do more than just got murdered for a living, you know?
Oh, fuck.
And so, like, I was, like, in my head, I'm thinking like, you know, there must be children out there who are trans and they want to come out, but they are afraid to because they're hearing all these stories about like trans people getting murdered and like being beaten up. And I'm like, it's good to, you know, you have to tell those stories, of course, right? But do they have to be all the fucking stories? Like if I were a kid, I'd be so freaked out. Like I wouldn't ever want to come out. Like, can we share stories about like triumph or whatever? Not even that. Let's share stories about that are boring. Like here's a trans woman that like tried to own a bakery and she didn't, you know, like just a fucking boring story of a trans woman. I just want to open up the conversation about being trans more. I think it's too limiting.
Yeah, it's like a narrow mind and maybe creates this like this cookie cutter image of what a trans woman's supposed to be, which is its own kind of pressure, which is a thing that like as women in general, I feel like otherwise we've been working to get away from. I thought it's like, haven't we been burning our bras and
fucking one of us is
bitch, I'm never wearing a bra again.
Neither am I.
Like fuck this. But just the like whole movement of you know, there's so much that goes into like women are such incredibly complex dynamic creatures, and I feel like getting away from that image of what, and I think what causes just people across the board in strife, or so much strife that's unnecessary, is this image of who we think we're supposed to be we're chasing, you know, where it's like, as a kid, you know, you're taught early on, like, this is the kind of person you should grow up to want to be, and like, you know, 2.5 kids in a house and have a job and look like this, and like, it feels shitty for not meeting a goal that like wasn't even ours. It was just shoved down our throats.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another thing is you know when sometimes someone will post like these are like the 9 ways to talk to a trans person. You know what I mean? Here's a list, and whenever I see those lists, I'm like, well, I agree with most of those things, but man, you're putting a lot of stress on people who don't know how to talk to trans people, so they're going by this meme. And if I were like cisgender and I read that, I'd be so stressed out that I would actually like avoid talking to trans people because you don't want to fuck up. So what you're doing is that you are making people walking eggshells around me now, and this is the thing, is that I have trauma too, and my trauma is that I don't like being infantilized because when I was a kid I was disempowered by my parents. So when people are talking like I'm a child, I get so fucking mad. Like they're like, you know, and by the way, you kind of did this, and I'm not mad at you. This is like a thing that.
No, tell me.
Saying it's like when someone goes, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Oh my god, I call everyone dude. I mean, like last week.
As I was saying that, I was like, "Oh, I'm this person."
It's like I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, are we not adults here? Like, if you say something wrong, can you just like either move on or say sorry? I don't give a fuck. Like, I've been called a lot worse than dude in my life, you know. So like, I don't like this pressure that we put on people. Like, I think it's like, look, learn as much as you can. Try your best. If you fuck up, apologize. And if you don't agree with any of it, then don't fucking talk to me, because I don't want to talk to anyone who's actually transphobic. Of course. But if someone's confused and they can ask me a question, I can either go like, I don't feel like answering that, or I'll answer it. But I don't know the point of being like, this person is fucking wrong and I'm going to be mad at them, and now my day is fucking ruined. Their day is ruined, and now they are resentful of trans people. And it's the whole thing. It just drives me insane. Like, I think, you know, I wish more people were friendly, because like I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like, people will message me and go like, hey, look, I'm not transphobic, but so-and-so. Look, I know who you're talking about. She's a cunt, okay? Like, you're not transphobic. That is a bad trans person. like
she's a bitch. And it's also...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's also just like, this idea that anyone who has come out as anything, just like, well, and I just do this in general with women, like that that no women could be a bitch. Like when people go, oh, am I a bitch? Or is it just because I'm a woman who's being assertive? And it's like, yeah, no, like maybe, but maybe you're a bitch. We're humans. Everyone's a little ugly sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that we conflate things too much. I think like in academia, someone told me like when you learn like social justice rules, like it's for like an academic thing for you to know. But you're not supposed to literally translate it over to interpersonal communications. You cannot live that way. It's just too much like to remember and to learn.
It's exhausting.
It's so fucking exhausting. Like communication to me should be like this imperfect, constant negotiation back and forth. Like you mess up, I mess up, we say sorry, we become better friends. You know, we have a connection. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. But
fuck, who knows? Who cares?
Well, you're talking about being a woman, right? Like, just like, can they be a bitch? Am I a bitch? So I was thinking about like, so sometimes like, if a trans person is being shitty, I think it's okay to be like that trans person is shitty, right? And then you can be like, well, she had to go through this and that because being a trans is hard, and like all that can be true systemically, but I think you can separate that and go like systemically you're being oppressed, but personally you're being kind of a bitch. I don't like that we like just because somebody has excuses to be a bad person that we excuse, you know, like it's good to know a background of why so you can have some empathy for them, but I don't think you should excuse like bad behavior because of trauma or systemic issues and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think it's also worth considering. On the other end, it's like, okay, if you have friends that you're doing that for, where you're going, okay, yeah, this person's kind of a bitch, but this, and that, it's at least worth going, maybe when someone else that you're not close with is being a bitch, it's like, well, maybe there's more to that. Not that it makes it okay, but like, that, you know, one person can have an excuse for the way they're acting, and then someone else is just a fucking terrorist.
Right. Yeah. I think as I've gotten older, like, impact is more important to me than intent. Like intent is important, but the impact is more like, so like if somebody like can't help it or whatever, you know, like they haven't dealt with their issues and they just lash out and they're being bad, like you can't just make an excuse for everybody, you know. I think that's like enabling bad behavior.
Absolutely.
And it happens like everyone just kind of like, oh, I had a lot of enablers in my life and they love me and everything, but I don't think they realized they were doing a lot of damage by like justifying my bad behavior, being like, oh, look, well, Robin, she's depressed, you know, and she's hard to be trans, and you know, she's valid in her feelings, you know. But I needed someone to just be like, dude, you're being a dick. Like, you need to stop. Like, I needed someone to just say that to me. I wish I had more of that in my life sometimes. But
yeah, I think we could all use a little bit because, like, you know, there's moments where you fucking are just really bogged down, whether it's like chemical or situational, and like life sucks sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
But I think, yeah, it's like sometimes, you know, you can go like, well, I'm just depressed, I'm this, I'm that. It sometimes takes someone going like, yeah, you are. So fucking figure it out, you know? Because, I mean, the amount of people that it's like, well, I have this. So like just the concept of being like, well, I'm just a bitch. That's how it is. It's like, no, what? No. Fix your shit.
And I don't want depressed people to listen to this and think I'm saying like you don't have a right to be depressed. Like, no, I know what it's like.
No, it's totally valid.
I'm just saying like being depressed does not like you're valid, that it's hard and that people should help you, and you should. I even condone people like reaching out publicly, being like, hey, look, I need help. Can someone call me? Like, I don't mind that, you know, but it's when they use it as an excuse to be bad. That's the only thing I'm talking about.
Oh,
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I don't want.
Yeah, I don't want depressed people to listen and go like, are you talking about me? And I'm like, no, I'm not.
No one's talking about you. We've forgotten about you. I'm kidding. You guys know. And depression is very serious. Obviously, like I've suffered from it. You also. And like, everyone's valid in their feelings, of course. Yeah, right. Well, it's one of those things where like, it's figuring out how much can you do? How can you control what is within your capabilities to help? Because for a long time, I grew up in a town where it was very like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't be a bitch. A town, also my household, but like, so like, I was one of those people where initially when people started talking about like triggers, I was like, oh, you mean you're a fucking bitch? Like, you know, like you're a pussy. And and I didn't know, because I have a ton of trauma. I didn't know I was walking around constantly triggered. And then you are like, oh, that's what a trigger is.
Yeah.
When you start doing your own self-work, it's then, you know, obviously being aware of stuff like that. But even with triggers, to me, so much of it is you get triggered and it's easy to go, it's everyone else's fault. But I've now shifted. Yeah. Like, if I get triggered, I go like, well, what is this saying? Where is this coming from? Right. It's almost to me like a shitty flag for something I need to work on a lot of the time. Obviously, I'm not talking about like directly hateful shit, but like when something indirectly, like not even toward me, I'm getting fucking worked up about, it's like, all right, wait a second. What's going on here?
I actually like figured out some of my triggers recently, and you know, I used to, you know, I don't, I kind of was like you for a while too, like, trigger warnings up, but you know, I didn't say that out loud or whatever. But then I found out one of my big triggers is, I grew up really poor, so I have like a lot of poverty trauma, which I didn't even know was a thing until like a couple months ago. Like if I make an Amazon order for groceries or whatever, and I forget to order one thing, I will like lose my mind. I'll start crying. I'll start yelling. And then my friend who's like a therapist was telling me like the trigger is like it's physiologically like your body tenses up and your brain goes into like a fight or flight reaction. Oh yeah. So you literally cannot help it. Like you, like before your brain can go, hey, you need to chill out, your feelings and your physiological energy has already taken over. So I have a lot of sympathy for triggers now because of that. I guess the thing that bothers me, and this is a personal, maybe problematic level, is like people assume that my triggers are always trans related. And it, like sometimes like I forget I'm trans. I don't think about it all the time. So I'll be like, I'm having a day, man. They'll be like, being trans is hard. I'm like, well, thanks for reminding me of that. I meant that someone was mad at me, but
now I have two things to think about.
Right, yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, no, I didn't know till a couple of years ago what like triggers really were, because I had just everything was so deeply like repressed, and then it all started exploding, and then when you realize you have like it's like PTSD style where you're like it fucking just shift before you even realize something has happened.
I remember you did a Gaslamp show. I think it was 2015 or 2016. I don't know if you remember this, but you were like you know, that Gaslamp show, and you started to do some mental health material halfway through. Yeah. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I'm like so happy she's doing this. Like you really stepped out of your comfort zone for that set. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think, because I think that was right at the beginning when I started talking about, I have like a whole chunk now about like depression.
Yeah.
But that was, I think it was very raw back then. I was just like, if I don't, it was one of those feelings of like, I have to get this out or it's going to kill me.
Yeah. I remember thinking like, I was like, the word proud is maybe condescending, but I was like, oh man, I'm so proud of her for like really opening up like, this part of like, it's not, no one was really talking about it back then as much, like so openly, you know? So,
and then other people made specials about it. I was like, Lawrence!
I remember like a lot of your sets. Do you remember when we first met?
I remember did we first meet at that barbershop?
Yeah, it was a tattoo ink blot.
I don't know why I thought it was a barbershop. Yeah, it was definitely a tattoo parlor.
It looked just like a barbershop, but
yeah, with that little stage in the front.
Yeah, and you did a bit about Adele. You riffed about, I think it was a riff from a
that's the first time I did it. Yeah.
And I remember thinking like I was like, fuck, I was like kind of new, and I was like, man, she just ripped that, and she's killing for a tattoo shop, you know? And I remember I was a fan of yours like from the get go. I remember like you were the first comic I saw where I'm like, oh my God, you can kill like anywhere. Like, you know, like all the excuses kind of went away. Like, I didn't do that well, you know, it's just, it was a tattoo shop, it was this and that, and you kind of just came out there. And anyway, I just always wanted to tell you all that. Like, I remember when I remember like, the next time I saw you was like at the Brea Improv, like maybe a few months later. And I remember, you know, when you first start and you just kind of want to like impress people that you think are better than you are, you know, like,
which is like everyone. It's like someone hosts an open mic and you think that they're a king.
Yeah. I remember just thinking like, I just want Jessica to think I'm funny. I remember thinking that like, and I don't think you saw my set, which I didn't care about. I just wanted you to hear the laughter from the audience. You know? And I think I asked you for advice that day. I was such a young comic. I was like, hey Jessica, when you have like a 10-minute set, do you like plan it out, or do you because I had planned out my 10-minute set, which worked everywhere, but I only had 10. And you were like, when it's 10, I don't really think about it. And I'm like, what? And you were like a god to me, like 10. Oh my fucking God, I can't believe it.
That's so funny because like I was still relatively new at that point. Not like new, but like, it's so funny what like a 3 or 4 year in comic seems like when you start out versus. And I was like, I'm not qualified to give anyone advice. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember that, and I remember you having a good set. Fuck.
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Let me ask you, fucking. I don't know where to go from here. That was so flattering. Thank you.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Sorry.
It's okay. I remember that Gaslamp show because I think that's the first time I'd seen you since you transitioned.
It was. I was wearing like a new dress of mine. It was like rainbow colored dress. I remember that, and just like yeah, I remember. And I think you had a bit about. Did you have a bit about a Johnny Cash song? Do you remember this at all? It was like you had a bit about a song, and you told me afterwards like you didn't know where this like that bit went. It just didn't go anywhere. That's all I remember. I don't think I saw you again until
was it Johnny Cash or was it the Devil Went Down to Georgia?
Yes, that was the song.
Fuck, that's so funny. I tried that joke like 5 times and I just like gave up on it. But it was just about
you. Yeah.
Oh fuck! I kind of almost want to revisit it.
Like I thought it was funny, and I was like, "Oh, this is funny," but it's like it's not there yet, but it'll get there one day. And I remember you being like, "I don't know where that joke goes." And I have jokes like that too. I'm like, it's weird to like go like, "Oh, personal stuff, the trauma." Wait, it's like, and now Eminem and Dr. Dre, like,
it's like dark, and then you're like, "Wouldn't it be silly if Diana Ross?" And you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
God, I remember that. You looked so cute. And then I remember, I think I said something and I drove home and I was like, what a fucking idiot I am. Because I was like, I remember saying that you seemed so much more comfortable just like socializing now that you had transitioned. And then I was like, was that a fucking dickhead thing to say?
No, you know what? Honestly, like I don't, obviously I'm very, lighthearted about it. But if you want to know the truth, when I first came out, it was the first time in my life where I can look at people in the eyes. Like, so like for 28 years, I would avoid eye contact with everyone.
Yeah. Well, because that's what I literally thought of. Like, anytime I'd seen you before, you were like very, just kind of like, it's like social anxiety. A lot of comics have it, but it was like, yeah, I don't think I had ever made eye contact with you. And you just we were having this conversation like eye to eye. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so what it was, if I'm like really honest with myself, was like if like I felt like if I looked at someone in the eyes, they would see something in me. I don't know what that thing they would see was, but it would be exposing. So like,
you were hiding something?
On some level, I always kind of knew, but I was like, wait, am I gay? Like, do I like? Because I don't really like guys. Like maybe I'm like 20% into guys or whatever, but I'm not. I like women, but like I didn't really think it was like a possibility to be like a girl, until like I saw you could be trans, like it was a choice, not a choice, but you know what I mean? Like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I can.
Soundbite, you're canceled.
I actually don't give a fuck if it is a choice. By the way, I think it's like so dumb.
Well, that's how I feel too. Is that I'm like, okay, let's just fucking philosophically say it is a choice.
Right?
Who the fuck cares?
That's
like,
exactly.
Choose what you want.
I think that the born this way thing is kind of like homophobic to begin with, or transphobic. Like it's like if a son came out to his dad and was like, "Dad, I'm gay," and he goes, "It's fine as long as you didn't choose that shit. No choice."
Yeah, but it's like, but acting like it's a disease or something.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like, I remember when I first came out. Also, like, I didn't try on clothes for like a month because I was scared, and I was like praying before I put on like the pink blouse, like it was my first girl clothing. I was like, please hate this. Please do not, please let this be a phase. Like, and then you won't have to do this anymore. You'll just like don't go on Facebook for a while. People will forget. And then
you'll change your name back. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and then I put on the pink blouse, and it was the first time I ever smiled in my life. Like I was like, and my life is over.
You're like,
So
damn
fucking-
it.
Yeah, I was smiling and scared at the same time.
Oh, you're like, I feel pretty. Oh, stop it.
Yeah. And one of the funniest things when I first came out is I started posting pictures of me like in girl clothes, like a bunch of selfies and stuff.
Yes.
And one of I won't say his name, but a comic liked 15 pictures of me in a row, wrote "Damn you for this one, Robin," and then blocked me.
Oh my God.
This dude jerked off.
He's like, I don't know who I am. He's like so full of self-hate.
I ruined this guy's life by making him jack off to me. And let me tell you, the woman, that's the most powerful I've ever felt in my life.
Dying. That shit's so funny. Fuck. Wait, so did you always feel like for a long time, or like was it your whole life that you felt like something was amiss?
When I was a kid, I remember the first memory was there was like a pink carousel set like at my cousin's house, like, and it was like I just wanted to play with this thing, and it was like you can't do that. I didn't know gender. I just wanted the pink thing. Like, I don't know. I always it was like a very stereotypical girl thing, but I like pink. I like you know, fairy wands and shit like that. Like you know, I would wear rings and jewelry to school and everything, and like
that's awesome.
And I remember like just like memories of like I was in drama class, and when we'd have to wear makeup for the plays, like I'll be like, I'm gonna keep this on for as long as I can. Like these like little things. I just like really liked stereotypical girl stuff. I remember thinking when I was a kid, like I saw like Ellen DeGeneres, like on her show, she kissed another woman, and I remember like being like so turned on by that like it never went away. Like the high of that first time you get
of Ellen, kissing a woman.
And I remember thinking as a kid, man, I wish I was a lesbian. Like that's all I want to be. Like before a comedian or writer, I just want to be a lesbian. I wish it was possible, and now it is. You know, so yeah.
Did it take you seeing like trans people in media to like go?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was. I was really mad at Caitlyn Jenner, I think. Oh no, it wasn't. Caitlyn Jenner. It was somebody. I forgot. Oh no, you know what it was? Kate tried to get me to watch the first episode of Transparent, and I was like not having it. I was so fucking mad, and she was like, "Why are you so mad?" And I was like, "These fucking people, man! Like they want me to call them this thing. Like I don't want to call them that. What gives them the right for me to call them a woman? Like what makes them a woman?" And I remember I was like, I don't remember this at all really, but I said to Kate, you know, in some other lifetime, I could have been a woman. You don't see me fucking demanding, you know, all this stuff. She was like, well, if you're a woman, why aren't you a woman? I'm like, I'm not a fucking woman. And like, I don't remember this like at all. I just went through this fucking enrage. I was like, you know, like
rage blackout.
Yeah, like the internalized transphobia.
Yeah.
And then when I realized it, like a month later, I rewatched Transparent, and I bawled my eyes out. It was like, are you dressed up like a woman? It's like, no, all this time I've been dressed up like a man. I remember like that line. It destroyed me, you know? And I make a lot of jokes now about I don't give a fuck about what I wear anymore, and all that's true. But I think in the beginning phases, like it was really important that I don't know if this is problematic wording, but like to like look the part, you know?
Yeah.
To like play out the femininity that I had never experienced before. And the laziness is more like I got that out of my system, but like, and I'm being jokey about it. But I really, the first like 2 or 3 years, I loved all the feminine stuff. Like I loved dresses and like the hair and the makeup and everything. It was like the celebration of femininity, you know? And I think, I think at the same time as we're talking about all this stuff, I think that I don't know why we begrudge that at the same time. You know, I don't think we should force women to do that. But I don't know like if a woman is really dressed up and like wants to look like why is like that, like she wants to express herself, you know? We don't have to like that she's doing it or whatever, but like we have to like accept that that's another way of expressing it, you know? We don't have to judge like for some reason, like being a feminine person is like lower, even like in a very enlightened society. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, where it's like, oh, you must have low self-esteem because you put on mascara, and it's like,
right?
Yeah, maybe this is my art, bitch.
Yes, yeah. And like twice, like maybe twice a year, I have a black dress that's like the nicest dress I have, and I have a wig, like a black wig that like I love, and like 2 or 3 times a year, I will want to dress up like as the prettiest that I can, just like get that out of my system. And so like, yeah. I don't think there's a problem with like wanting to look pretty sometimes, No,
I don't think so either. And I think that like most women have that. And then I think it's probably, I don't know if it's internalized misogyny or like if we're socially built to try to like shit on each other. But it is this like weird, I don't know. I have a bit, and I'm not going to do the bit, but about how, like, with feminism, it's like everyone supports each other until someone's hotter than them, and they're like, fuck her, she's a slut. And it's like yeah, why because someone has their tits out, do we think that they're less of a feminist,
I do think it is a lot of internalized misogyny.
All right, that concludes the free hour portion of this podcast. As you may have heard in the intro, if you're interested in hearing the last 40 minutes, gotta join Patreon. Patreon.com/ignoranceisblessed. You can hear the last 40 minutes of this podcast, and next week's, by the way, is a 2-hour one for just $1 a month, and that helps me survive, hopefully, and there's a lot of other fun content going on over there as well. So, check it out, and if you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate, review it on iTunes, share it with your friends, because everybody's a little bit ignorant sometimes. Big thank you to John, Dustin, Greg, Jean, Kathy, and Terry over on Patreon, exclusive members of my League of Extraordinary Idiots. We're doing weekly crappy hours. It's actually the $10 and up level have been invited to those while quarantine's going on, but usually that's the $25 level, so get in and cheat me out of my opportunities. And there's other cool stuff too, but I'm very grateful. Most of these people have been on board for I don't know, since the beginning of the Patreon or since they discovered the podcast, and I am so grateful. It's literally keeping me alive right now, and I just fucking love connecting with you guys. Please keep in mind that no guest is or claims to be a representative for every person who has a similar identity. They're just one person sharing their own experience and ideas from how things look at their situated position in the world. So if you have additional questions for Robin, or maybe you have another guest or topic you'd like covered, throw them at me. Let me know. Best way to do that, join the Facebook fan page. Ignorance is #BlessedIdiots. That doesn't cost you a dime. You don't have to be a patron. And a lot of fun stuff going on over there. Silly memes getting shared. It's a good place to go get a break from what's going on, have a few laughs, and also start discussions, It's grown-up discussions, so maybe you want to get in debates about something that you don't see eye to eye with someone on, that's fine. We just keep it civil, and we give ourselves an opportunity to approach things from an open-minded perspective, and we're learning, we're growing, and sometimes we're all yelling at the sky together. Anyway, head on over there to give suggestions. Please keep giving suggestions and keep asking questions, because the more we ask, the more we learn, the more we know. And the more we know, the more we can look down on others who aren't as smart as we are. Isn't that the point? Thank you for listening, and thank you for being patient with my ignorance. See you soon, idiots.